He didn't just kiss her. He shattered her entire life in front of 100 cameras. The crowd went silent for half a second, and then exploded. Gasps. Laughter. Phones rising like a wave. And right there, frozen in the center of it all, Ava Carter stood with wide, stunned eyes, her lips still tingling from a kiss she never saw coming. From a man she had never met. Ethan Blake. The CEO everyone feared. The billionaire who never smiled. The man rumored to fire executives for blinking wrong. And he had just kissed a complete stranger. Relax, Ethan said calmly, stepping back as if nothing had happened. It was a dare. A dare. The words echoed in Ava's mind like a slap. Her face burned as whispers spread around her. She looks like she's going to cry. Did he really just use her like that? Poor girl. Ava clenched her fists. She wasn't going to cry. Not here. Not in front of him. Next time, she said, her voice trembling but sharp, try asking. For the first time Ethan paused. Just for a second. Then he smirked and walked away. That should have been the end of it. But it wasn't. Because the next morning, Ava was fired. No warning. No explanation. Just a cold email from HR thanking her for her time and contribution. Her chest tightened as she stared at the screen. One kiss. One moment. And her life was already falling apart. But the worst part? 3 hours later her phone buzzed. A message from a private number. Meet me. 7 p.m. If you want your job back. Attached was an address she instantly recognized. The top floor of Ethan Blake's headquarters. Ava almost didn't go. Almost. But anger is a powerful thing. And humiliation? Even stronger. So at exactly 7 p.m., she stepped into the elevator, her heart pounding louder with every floor. When the doors opened, Ethan was already waiting. Alone. No assistants. No guards. Just him, standing by the window overlooking the city, like he owned the world. Maybe he did. You're late, he said without turning. I'm on time. He glanced at his watch, then at her. You're right, he admitted. Interesting. Ava crossed her arms. Let's skip the games. You got me fired. Now you want to fix it? Why? Ethan studied her like she was a puzzle he hadn't solved yet. Because, he said slowly, you didn't react the way I expected. Ava frowned. You kissed a stranger in public. What reaction were you hoping for? Gratitude. I expected tears. Maybe anger. But you, he stepped closer, his voice lowering. You challenged me. Ava's breath caught, but she didn't step back. Congratulations, she said dryly. You found someone who doesn't worship you. Something flickered in his eyes. Not anger. Interest. Work for me, Ethan said suddenly. Ava blinked. I already did. You fired me. No, he said, shaking his head. Not like that. Work directly for me. Her stomach twisted. Doing what? Keeping me honest. Ava almost laughed. You want me to babysit a billionaire with an ego problem? I want someone who doesn't care about my money, he corrected. Someone who will say no. Ava hesitated. This was insane. Everything about him screamed danger, control, power. But something else was there too. A crack. And without realizing it, she stepped closer. Why me? Ethan's gaze softened. Just barely. Because, he said quietly, I can't stop thinking about that moment. Ava's heart skipped. The kiss, she asked. He shook his head. No, he said. The way you looked at me after. Silence filled the room. Heavy. Electric. Ava swallowed hard. You don't get to ruin someone's life just because you're curious about them. Ethan didn't argue. Didn't defend himself. Instead, he did something no one expected. I know, he said. And for the first time he looked human. That should have been her warning. Because from that moment on everything changed. Days turned into late nights at the office. Arguments turned into conversations. Conversations turned into something neither of them wanted to name. But just when Ava started to believe there was more to Ethan than cold ambition, the truth came out. It wasn't a dare. The night of the kiss wasn't random. Ava found the video. Hidden deep in a private investor presentation. A clip of that exact moment. Paused right before Ethan leaned in. A voice in the background said, "If you want the deal, prove you can control public perception. Make them believe anything." Ava's hands trembled as the realization hit. She wasn't a stranger. She was a test. A pawn. Her chest tightened as betrayal crashed over her. So when Ethan walked into the office that night, he found her waiting. The video playing on the screen. "You used me," she said, her voice breaking despite her best effort. Ethan froze. "Ava, was it worth it?" She cut him off. "Your little performance? Your deal?" Silence. And that silence said everything. Tears burned her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. "I quit." She turned to leave. But before she could reach the door, "Stay." His voice cracked. That stopped her. Just for a second. "I didn't know it would be you," he said, stepping forward. "I didn't plan that part." Ava laughed bitterly. "That's supposed to make it better?" "No," he admitted. "But it's the truth." She turned slowly, her heart waging war with her mind. "Then why me, Ethan?" she whispered. "Out of everyone in that crowd, why me?" He hesitated, and then finally said it. "Because you looked at me like I wasn't untouchable." The room fell silent again. "I've had everything my whole life," he continued, his voice raw. "Power. Control. Respect. But no one ever saw me. Not really." His eyes met hers. "You did." Ava's breath caught. "And that scared me," he admitted. "So I turned it into a game. A deal. Something I could control." Her anger softened. Just a little. "But somewhere along the way," he said, "it stopped being a game." Her heart pounded. "Too late," she whispered. "Maybe," he said. "But I'm still here." Ava looked at him, really looked. The man who humiliated her. The man who changed her life. The man who somehow had become impossible to ignore. And for the first time, she realized something terrifying. He wasn't the only one who couldn't walk away. But this time, she stepped closer on her own. "No more games," she said firmly. "No more tests. If I stay, it's real." Ethan nodded. "Real," he repeated. And this time, when he leaned in, he didn't rush. He didn't perform. He waited. And Ava? She chose it. Because sometimes the most dangerous stories aren't the ones that start with love. They're the ones that start with a mistake and dare you to turn it into something real.